Hi, my name is Ashley Garner, and today I'm going to be talking to you about high school band and social emotional health, what students are saying. The purpose of this study was to try to examine students' self-reported perceptions of as to whether or not participating in band has impacted their social and emotional development as well as their well-being. I did a literature review of the pre-existing data to see if there is any evidence that there is any development in students from participating in school band. And unfortunately, I didn't really find anything in this area. I did find some articles that suggested that listening to music was a coping mechanism for young people, but nothing directly related to creating music or participating in the band classroom. There is quite a bit of literature that talks about academic achievement and the benefits of being in band increasing academic performance. I have a sample size of 81 students who responded to the survey. It was from local Cleveland high school bands and Chattanooga bands. This survey was created by me and distributed via SurveyMonkey. We analyzed the data. We had both quantitative and qualitative data. The student responses, they had some open response questions. The limitations of this study were impacted by COVID-19 quite a bit because this was originally supposed to be distributed at school locations, which is why all the schools were in the local region so I could drive to them and also conduct focus groups as well. But due to COVID-19 and school closures, that was not able to happen. The findings are categorized through 5 categories, which are coping mechanisms, social development, identity, self-efficacy, and memorable experiences. We will only get to cover 3 in this time. First one, coping mechanisms. The question they were asked was, how does attending band class help you cope with the stresses of the school day? Students shared a lot of common responses, such as they viewed it as an escape or a safe place to go to in the school day. It was it feels as though it's a familial environment to them, and that they can have a sense of group accomplishment because if they fail at something or don't succeed, they have their band family there to back them up, and they don't have to feel as though they are not able to continue. They are able to deal with the struggle and then move on. One student said, school basically ends for me at 1:19 because when that bell rings and I go to band, it's like I'm already going home. This just attests to what students said earlier about in the quantitative data that they feel like it's a familial environment. Approximately 7% of students disagreed. They did not think that participating in band helped them deal with the stresses of the school day. This graph shows that students in the quantitative data said that they felt, most of them agreed, that being in band helps them adapt to unplanned events better. In band environments, there's always sudden changes that randomly happen, and they're not always inside your control, and you have to learn to be able to deal with those. And I think that attests to the familial environment and that they're able to band together and just push through whatever the challenge is. Here it talks about having a sense of belonging. I think this graph shows that most students would agree with earlier comments about band being a family and that they have a place to belong and a sense of identity in the school itself. Only 5% disagreed. The next question is social development. The question was, please describe your ability to develop relationships with your peers before and after band. One student wrote, I was extremely introverted until I joined band. We strive for greatness, and so we talk to each other like family. This has enabled me to be more outgoing in the rest of my classes and with my fellow peers outside of band because my friends and my family gave me the confidence to step outside the box. This supports these common phrases that people felt as though they were coming out of their shells, and they also, many people describe their relationships before band and after joining band. Many people feel as though they are introverted before joining band, and after joining band, they have a much easier time talking to people and developing lasting relationships. A lot of them view band as an icebreaker. so that they don't feel afraid to walk up to somebody else in the band room and start a conversation with them because they're already connected somehow in this band program, this band family. And so it isn't an issue to walk up and talk to somebody that you don't personally know yet. 11% of students reported no change in their ability to develop relationships before band or after joining band, although the students who did feel as though they were able to develop relationships better after joining band, a lot of comments were based on feeling as though they were able to develop relationships beyond just the surface level, but lasting relationships. This graph shows that students report that they feel more cooperative with others, even though some students disagreed with previous comments. It seems as though everybody agrees that they were able to be more cooperative with others and learn the ability to compromise. This graph shows that most of those students agree that at some point they had to compromise and develop that skill. The last question is self-efficacy. Does being in band make you feel more confident in your own ability to face difficult circumstances? As I was reading these responses, it was just an overwhelming theme of resiliency. A lot of the common phrases were that they experienced increased skills in public speaking, performance, self-confidence, leadership, and developing a sense of accomplishment. One student wrote, in band, when things get rough, quitting isn't always an immediate option. You always have to finish out that difficult practice or that long rehearsal, and once you get through it, it isn't as difficult to do it again. This goes back to the development of diligence and responsibility that students gain. They have to make it through their rehearsals and show up again the next day. It takes a lot of responsibility, especially to memorize their music, and they each depend on each other because if one person doesn't show up to rehearsal, it immediately creates a problem for every other student in the band. And this concept is something that these students seem to have grasped because they consider each other family. 9% of students reported that they did not perceive any effect of being in band in developing their self-efficacy. This graph shows that most students all agree that they feel a sense of progress. Only 4 students were neutral on that one. And students also agree that they develop perseverance. Going back to the last quote, students have to have perseverance to overcome when they're very tired and they've had very long rehearsals, especially in the summertime before school or after a long day at school. Something keeps pulling them back to sweating out in the sun or practicing their music over and over again until they can get it right. The ability to continue pushing when it seems very hard. The reason why this study is significant is because, as I said earlier, there's not a lot of available literature out there. I didn't really find anything that pertained specifically to music education and social emotional development. This is really important because it could be the first of many studies on this. Funding is also very important because band directors are notorious for fundraising, fruit sales, and other sales because there is not much funding to run their programs, and being in band is very expensive. A lot of times this comes out of the students' pockets through band fees, and maybe we can get some proof that these programs should be funded. Focusing on the student is important because it's not all about the music and the academic achievement benefits that come from being in band, but on the lifelong lessons and skills that they have developed during their time that they have reported in this survey. Maybe we should not consider band extracurricular, but co-curricular. The difference is that extracurricular band programs must rehearse after school, and co-curricular can rehearse in school as well as out of school. This is very important because extracurricular bands can only meet before or after school, which makes it more difficult for students and directors to get things done. Co-curricular means they have a block of time in school that they can work on things, and just the overall life experiences that they have gained from being in band, because developing self-confidence and self-efficacy and feeling like you have a family and feeling safe to fail in a group setting and having accomplished something as a group and shared goals is all very important, and it's something that can be taken outside of the band classroom. In conclusion, I think that even though there are some negative comments regarding feeling more stressed about being in school band, that there's an overwhelming positive balance here that students believe and they perceive that there are able to develop self-confidence and other important emotional skills, that there is social and emotional development going on here. If anybody has any questions, you can reach me at the McNair office. Thank you.